What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Nate. I want to say thank you guys. It's been a busy last couple days. I want to make y'all a quick video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for the likes. Appreciate you guys subscribing as well. It's helping out the channel. If you guys need anything, let me know. Today's video, guys, is going to be on do something that's challenging, that hurts. Okay? This is the most important thing you can do. Do something challenging that hurts. And I know this flies in the face of a lot of modern day advice and worldviews and all that stuff, right? But do something challenging that hurts you, all right? I don't mean become a masochist, all right? You don't have to go crazy with it. But guys, we live in such a soft day and age. And I want to let you guys know I'm not into the whole, beat yourself into the ground until, you're beaten into a pulp, things like that. I think that's pretty pointless, right? I think that there's a lot of ways you can break yourself down to build yourself up. But these days, guys, it's so easy to never push as far as you need to, right? Case in point, a little story time for y'all. This past week, like I said, was kind of busy. I'm in the Army again, and life is pretty crazy, but you can apply this to anything, right? In the Army, it's just a little bit more, I don't know, you have to kind of do it or else you get left behind, right? But you can do this in the civilian world too, and I highly recommend it. And guys, what I mean by that is, like, Thursday, I went and so I'm here at Fort Campbell, and I went and did the air assault course, the obstacle course, right? It was like a prep day. Had a lot of downtime at work, and my lieutenant was like, hey, you want to go ahead and go try this out? I said, sure. Went out, didn't really want to do it because I was given like an hour's notice, but I said, hey, screw it, might as well try it out, see what's up. I'm not going to lie, guys, I failed almost every obstacle on that course. I kid you not. I thought I was in decently good shape, right? Last couple weeks, I let myself slide. I haven't been as active as I need to. Smoking cigarettes, right? Thankfully gave that up a few days ago. That really impacts your cardiovascular performance. I have nothing against anybody that smokes cigarettes, by the way. I think it is, one of the worst, habits you can have, but I realize it does help people. And if you're living a life where you need to be really active, it tends to hinder you. So yeah, that was an eye-opener. So got to get a lot more fitness, cardio-wise. And guys, every obstacle out there, you have to pay attention to the detail, right? And some of them hurt. I'm not going to lie. Some of them hurt, man. You got to throw yourself through some of these obstacles. One's called the Weaver. You got to weave your way through these blocks up and down, under and over. My body felt kind of bruised up the next day. Had to climb a rope. Failed that the first time. Had to come back around, do it again. Like I said, I failed almost every obstacle out there, so I ended up having to redo almost everything. It was an eye-opener, right? Like I said, I thought I was in good shape. But see, guys, I became complacent. Years ago, I used to be extremely competitive. I used to be very, I used to want to do everything that I could that was a challenge. And then, I guess, I don't know, guys, weak mindset, gassed myself out, went through a lot of stuff personally and just kind of ran me into the ground. And so for a while, I was just kind of in this state of red line and recovery. And thankfully coming out of that quite a bit. So now I'm getting out there pushing again, guys. But man, that obstacle course, man, it kicked my butt. And for some people, it's super easy, right? If you grew up, you were in high school, you did a lot of athletics, and you were very fit, it's probably not going to be a problem. But man, for me, it was tough. And then this morning, I just went on a ruck, right? So you have to also do a 12-mile ruck. Long story short, guys, I only made it about 4.3 miles this morning. I haven't rucked in over 5 years. My heels felt like they were gonna, scrape off the back of my feet. And I realized that about 2 miles in. And so I went to Google Maps and I found a route to get me back. And it was going to be another 43 minutes. And that was probably one of the most painful 43 minutes of my life. But now I'm not feeling too bad. I'm sure once I take these boots off, it's going to hurt. But yeah, I was barely trotting along. And there were times, guys, I thought about calling a friend, coming to pick me up, calling an Uber, even calling the police, right, to come pick me up, drive me back to my car. And I'm glad I didn't, right? I'm really glad I didn't, because when things start to hurt, guys, when you challenge yourself, when things start to hurt, that's when you really find out who you are, right? See, I'm one of those people that I want to be naturally good at everything I do. The problem is there are very few, and I mean very few things I am naturally good at. I don't really, I know people say you should have confidence, right? And I talk about it a lot. You should have internal confidence about who you are as a person. When it comes to my abilities, guys, sometimes I don't have the most confidence, right? And there are things I know I'm pretty good at, but to me, I could always improve. I could always be better, right? I never want to stay the same. And, the last couple of days, man, especially have been an eye-opener, because, I thought I was good. I thought I was great. But I realized how far behind I am. And so I got to train. I got to work. I got to push. I got to get better. And there's certain goals I want to achieve, right? There's certain things I want to go through. And I won't be able to do that unless I put myself through the pain. And guys, when you're pushing yourself through the pain, when you're pushing yourself to do something challenging, really one of two things is going to happen. One, you're going to give up. Like I said, I thought about calling, having someone drive me back, doing something, right? And it was a choice. Every step that you make is a choice. And you have to either push through pain or stay the same. And that's the truth, guys. That's the same, when it comes to your job, right? I was in sales for a couple of years. And guys, I've talked about this a little bit. I'll probably make a video on it. But with sales, I know a lot of people say, do it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Sales is probably one of, if not the most stressful jobs that you can have in the military, or in life, right? Unless you're a recruiter, that's probably one of the most stressful jobs you can have in the military, unless you're naturally good at it, right? Some people are natural salesmen, but guys, to be a good salesman, and what I mean by that, someone who cares, someone who doesn't lie, someone who's actually promoting something good, it's tough, right? And being a good salesman, or just a salesman in general, really, is one of the hardest jobs you can literally do out there. I was pretty decent at it. I would say in a lot of ways I was above average at it, but I still wasn't anywhere near what I would consider the best, right? Or the top, 10% of salespeople, at least in my industries that I was in. I was probably top 30%, top 25 some months. But that top 10%, there was a couple months where I got that, but consistently, no. But that's to say, guys, eventually I did walk away from that after about a year and a half, because it wasn't clicking with me anymore. It wasn't what I was called to do. But I'm glad I pushed myself through it, and I'm glad I pushed myself through this ruck. You see, a lot of times we like to stay comfortable. We like to stay on the couch. We like to stay in bed. We like to stay on our computers. We like to, do the easy things, right? We like to play video games and achieve things on there because it's easier, and, less risk is involved than trying to push ourselves in life and trying to push ourselves through any pain in life and taking the risks in life. And what I've realized, guys, about myself, maybe this is true for you, maybe this is sort of a gut check you can do, but I have a huge fear of basically rejection and failing. Those are probably my two biggest fears, right? I used to use my fear of failing to push myself, and it can sometimes work, but I've realized that it's not really a good way to constantly think. You have to want something more. You have to want to succeed more than you fear failure. Fear can only fuel you so much. Fear is not a good fuel. It's a very temporary fuel. In a lot of ways, it backfires. It's damaging. But you have to find something greater than yourself. You have to find something greater than just, oh, I want to do this. Because a lot of times we say we want to do something, right? And sometimes we fall short, right? Sometimes we fall short. Sometimes we don't make it, right? As an example, the other day at that obstacle course, right? Like I said, I failed the rope climb at first. Had to go through the whole course and come back around and try it again. I actually failed it again. I couldn't get it. And then thanks to a lieutenant that was there, she actually showed me a way to climb the rope, and somehow it just clicked in my head. And I was climbing, I was getting towards the very top, and I wanted to give up. And part of me was like, no, I've already made it this far, keep going. And so I ended up doing that obstacle. And I was very proud of myself. I believe I was the last person to make it through the course that day. And the sergeant there said he wasn't going to drop me from, coming back to prep and stuff. But there were some people there that I saw, and everybody's a different place, but they would make it to the top and then they would just fall, right? They were already there, but they would fall. They would almost psych themselves out of it and they would just give up. And sometimes we don't even realize how far we make it, and we make it further than we really realize. And then when things get painful, when things get challenging, when things, I don't like heights very much. When you get afraid, you want to back down, you want to give up, you want to give in, right? And there's no growth in that, guys, right? A lot of times people who live that life, they're characterized by a lot of excuses, right? And I've been that person. That's why I try to keep my mouth shut a lot now. Or I like to talk about my failures because it's real, right? We're people. We're all going to fail things. Very few of us are just naturally gifted at everything that we do. And if you are, then, kudos to you, man. Like, you have a lot of gifts, use those. But I've noticed something, especially in today's day and age. The people who get the trophies, the people who win, the people who make it, the people who succeed are not the people who are really naturally gifted, right? Every once in a while, you'll have someone who's naturally gifted, who becomes really good at something, who excels, who pushes themselves. But a lot of times it's that guy who puts in the work. A lot of times it's the guy that goes out there when nobody else wants to do it, who pushes himself further than anybody else wants to. Those are the guys that make it, right? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember now, but I believe Kobe Bryant was one of those where, man, he just loved basketball so much, but he wasn't good at it. And so he would put in, double, triple the time of practice that everybody else would. And one day he became one of the biggest names in basketball, right? And, that's how you kind of have to look at life. You really have to approach life as, I'm going to do it, I'm going to succeed, or I'm going to die, right? Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give everything I have. And once you give everything you have, guys, again, one thing's going to happen. You're either going to fail or you're going to make it, right? You're either going to make it or you're just going to drop off. And sometimes, guys, you push yourself. Sometimes things don't work out. There have been times, you look at some of the most successful people on planet Earth. You look at their stories, you look at what they came from, right? A lot of us want to write it off as, oh, they were privileged or whatever. But you look into these people's stories, everybody's got some advantage here or there. But you look at these people's failure. Look at their track record of failure, man. Like, sometimes they go through years of failure. They sink themselves into something completely, and then it fails, right? They go under, their business goes under. Or maybe they do kind of good for a certain amount of time, and then they fail. Or they break a bone, or they break their legs, and all of a sudden they have to redo stuff, right? They have to go back to the drawing board. They have to figure it out. And that's what life is, guys. Life is given, if you want to succeed, I'm not a huge proponent of wanting to achieve, earthly things, right? Just for the sake of having them. But if you want them, if you want better for yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with what the God-given abilities and gifts that you have, with the, knowledge that you have, the wisdom, with the experience, with the drive that you have. There's nothing wrong with pushing yourself to go further. And as men especially, if you're a woman watching this applies to you, but this is sort of a PSA for men, all right? Public service announcement from Nate himself, right? And I'm talking to myself here. As men, we live in a day and age where it is so easy to just sit by and do the bare minimum, right? And there's so many men out there who are loathing their choices and loathing their complacency, right? There's so many husbands, so many young guys who are in their late 20s, 30s, 40s even. Guys, I'm even going to say 50s and 60s, because there's a lot of guys I see who, if they just took care of themselves, they would have so much more energy. They would be sharper. They would just be more vibrant, right? They'd be able to do more things. But something happens to a lot of guys when they get into like past 25, right? A lot of guys just give up. They're like, oh, I'm not young anymore. Oh, I'm getting old. They want to be complacent. They want to just give in and fall apart. And I'm not saying you got to be one of those psycho guys that goes around, like I said, running yourself into the ground everywhere and trying to get everybody to, come up to your level. But you also have a responsibility to protect yourself and to protect those around you. You have an obligation to do the best and be the best man that you can be. Doesn't mean you have to be a pro bodybuilder, pro powerlifter, pro athlete. But take care of yourself, man. There's people counting on you. Your family's looking up to you. They're looking at you, right? Your parents, maybe you don't have the best relationship with your parents, but you know what? If times get tough, wouldn't you want to be the one that could take care of them, right? If your wife gets sick, if she couldn't work anymore, if your kids get sick, right? Are you just going to give up? Are you just going to throw your hands in the air? Like, well, what are you going to do about it, right? What are you going to do if life gets tough, right? The world falls apart and you got to actually be a man and you got to take care of your family. You got to lead them through some tough times. Are you ready for that? And guys, the way you're going to be ready for that is putting yourself through the pain now. Making environments, right? I'm not the only one to say this, but I hope that some people out there get it, because for a long time I didn't. And sometimes I just don't want to, but it is the way, right? You have to you have to make environments, situations that are tough, that are challenging, that are painful. Don't ever think you can't do it, right? Push yourself little by little. I'm gonna tell you what, guys, my plan today was to hike or ruck 6 miles, right? Didn't make it, right? Like I said, about 2 miles in, I was already feeling it big time. I had to walk another 2.3 to make it back to my car. All right. I guarantee you, once I take these boots off, I'm not going to like what I see, but I'm glad that I did it, right? I can rest, I can repair, put some bandages on it. The skin will come back tougher. I'll know what to do better next time. I'll be more mentally prepared, physically prepared, right? So take those losses, take the so-called failures, learn from them and drive on. Be better, be stronger, be wiser. So guys, just want to give you a little bit of that encouragement, because, a lot of guys, one day you're going to wake up, and this is my biggest fear, guys. One day you're going to wake up, you're going to be 50, 55, 60, whatever. You're going to wake up and go, wow, I had all that vitality in my youth. I had all that energy. I had all that time, all that ability, and I wasted it. And I made excuses, and I said, oh, I couldn't do it, or I was scared. But if I just face that fear, right? And that's why sometimes you can't face every fear in one day, but you face the little fears, right? You face the little things up front, and all of a sudden you realize they're not so bad, and you just keep going. And then you realize, well, I overcame that fear, I can overcome this fear, and it just compounds on itself. Or I push through this pain, I push through this challenge. Guys, I'm gonna end the video with this. Again, just from my experience. I know a lot of guys, myself included, I like to hear about people's experience, right? Like I started out the video with, I'm not the most talented guy out there. I'm really not. I don't have a lot of natural abilities, at least that I think that I have, but I do have one thing that I can honestly say a lot of people don't have, but a lot of people could have. And that is persistence, right? Indefatigability. That is the willingness, the persistence to drive on, to do what needs to be done, to overcome the obstacles, to keep going. And because of that, guys, I've had a lot of doubters in my life, right? Like I said, I fail at most things I do. And a lot of people doubt me. A lot of people will ridicule me. And then a few months later, a couple years, whatever, might take a while. Eventually, those people aren't laughing anymore. Eventually, those people aren't. Honestly, I just kind of separate myself, from those people anyway. But I've always been the type of person to say, you know what? If I want something, I'm going to get it. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to push until I can't push anymore. I'm going to keep going until I can't, right? And then I'm going to learn from it. If I want something, I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to get it. And because of that, I've been able to achieve everything I've wanted in life, everything I've wanted to achieve, everything I've wanted to get, I've achieved. I've gotten it. And there's a lot of things I wish I would have done differently, right? But hindsight's 2020, and you learn, you grow, you keep moving forward. So don't dwell on the failures, guys. Use it as a reason, as a learning experience. Use it as something to drive on, to push forward from, to learn from. And I guarantee if you stay persistent, if you push through the pain, if you do challenging things, you will be successful eventually. And you'll learn that you can apply it to anything in life. So go do something hard today, guys. Go do something hard this week. Go do something that you know you should be doing that's been eating away at you in the back of your head. Something you know you've always wanted to do, whether that's train for a marathon, train for a Tough Mudder, or, Spartan race, or, to just ask that girl out, even if she says no, right? Oh, well, it's not the end of the world. You keep going, right? You ask another girl, you just keep going. So, guys, that's what I have for you today. If you have any comments or experiences, anything you want to add, let me know in the comments below. But I'll see y'all at the next one.